down that camera and strap in. It's time for a new episode of TogChat Live. It's an open mic night for photographers. Get ready for 60 minutes of your photography questions in real time with answers from your host, Joe Edelman.
Hey gang, how you doing? Thanks for joining me for another live episode of TogChat. I'm Joe Edelman, and our discussion tonight, success as a photographer, it's in the details. So stay tuned. I promise to do at least 30 minutes of live Q&A to answer your questions, and I have an opportunity for you guys to win some cool gear from our friends at PhotoFlex. Last week, fstoppers.com published an article by a very talented Canadian shooter named Ryan Cooper. The article was titled, "Why Being Pickier Will Make You a Better Photographer." So when I saw this article, it reminded me of a presentation that I've been doing variations of for, almost about 10 years now. It's titled, "The Art of Seeing. Success in Photography is All About the Details." Now, I've done this talk for camera clubs and photography organizations. I've taught a accredited college course on the topic, and well, those kids are almost done their therapy now. But it's a talk that delves into some of the science behind creativity and all the reasons that we take bad photos. As an example, the beginner mistake of photographing someone with a flagpole growing out of their head. Believe it or not, there's actually a scientific reason why we do that and why we don't notice the flagpole. It's called inattentional blindness. You can Google it. And now you should all feel better about all the times that you made that mistake. It's not because you suck at photography. It's because you're human. So what is the science of why we take bad photographs? What does it have to do with details? The answer? Everything. The solution to overcoming our human shortcomings as photographers is paying close attention to the details. And believe me, that is much easier said than done. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about it. Now, I see too many new and young photographers, and heck, even a lot of old photographers, just wade in a sea of mediocrity and frustration because their photography, it's just not improving, or because they can't shoot as good as some guy on Facebook or YouTube. So what do? Well, some of them become bitter and they sour on the art of photography, hence SOURtographers. Others spend thousands of dollars in pursuit of that new piece of gear that will make them a star. You all know they're called GEARtographers. And yet others, they struggle with anxiety and fear of failure. And in the quest to avoid failure, they become TECHtographers. So as Ryan pointed out in his article, the great shooters never become complacent. They don't accept good enough as an acceptable metric of their work. In fact, being picky is what drives them and elevates their work. Now, what are they picky about? The best of the best, they're picky about everything. But in all the greats, they share a common thread. They are picky about the details. What details? All the details. Look, understand that being picky or paying attention to the details, it is both a skill set and a mindset. Paying attention to details, it's not easy for everyone. Some people have to work much harder at it than others. And it's kind of like having those, annoying people that can find Waldo in 10 seconds. And then everybody else is ready to pull their hair out after staring at the picture for more than 10 minutes. Much like everything else in photography and life, if you're not willing to put in the hard work and develop those skills, well, it's just not going to happen then. So for me, attention to detail begins with realizing that since I am a human and I struggle with details because of things like inattentional blindness and change blindness and a whole host of other cognitive psychology facts, I need to prep. Now that's only 4 letters, but it covers a really wide territory. Prep starts with knowing your gear. When you get in your car to drive somewhere, you don't think, how do I drive the car? You think, where am I going? What's in front of me? Heck, if you pick up a screwdriver, you rarely think anything beyond righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. That's it. Yet so many photographers don't know their gear without thinking about it. And they continually find themselves in a position during a shoot trying to figure out why something is happening with their camera. Now look, I know you've heard me talk about knowing your gear before, but what does it have to do with details? Okay, if you are fumbling with your gear during a shoot, you are not able to pay attention to the details. Google the word mindfulness. I'll come back to prep again in a few minutes, but let's address one that Ryan mentioned, and that is to be picky about your subject. In fact, that's the article or the title of his article. In Ryan's article, he takes a very politically correct approach to this subject, but hey, you know me. Let's just say that basically the way it works, crap in, crap out. So just because you think your model is beautiful, understand that part of your perception of beauty is based on your experience with that person. Not everyone will have the same experience. If you want your work to be the best, you select subjects based on the science and the human perception of beauty. Believe me, in the advertising world, they pay great attention to how humans perceive beauty. And that information holds heavy influence over the selection of models for advertising. You know, as Ryan points out, this applies to pretty much every genre of photography. A great photographer can indeed make any situation interesting, but they will make it spectacular if they're aiming their camera at a spectacular subject. So they are picky about where they aim their camera. Now, when it comes to actually shooting, models are people too. And without the model or your subject, you would have no photo. So understand that this business of photographing people, it's a relationship game. If you don't care about people and you don't play well with others, you'll have a hard time with this. Photographers who do not interact and show interest in their subjects as people have a hard time creating images that are relaxed and show people as happy subjects. In addition to being picky about what or who they shoot, great photographers, especially in the people photography space, they need to surround themselves with a great team. Hair and makeup people, and assistants if needed. That requires building relationships with people that you can trust and who share your creative vision. Understand that these helpers, they will have a dramatic impact on the final look and feel of your work. And as a result, they have a serious impact on your style and the consistency of your style. As Ryan points out, clients, paying clients, want a predictable outcome. So they want to see a style and a consistency to your work that tells them what they can expect for their money. I routinely hear photographers discussing shortcomings in their photographs by blaming the subject or the makeup artist. The subject brought the wrong clothes, or the makeup artist did a bad job. Stop doing that. Nobody made you press the shutter. Once you take the photo, you lose the right to blame someone or something else for your shortcomings, especially if you were dumb enough to show off the photo. Great photographers pay attention to the details, and they don't shoot things that don't look good. They fix the problem before they press the shutter. And in those situations where they fall short of their goals, they don't show the photo to the world, and they definitely do not place blame on somebody else. Now, as Ryan points out, we live in a social media era where you are rewarded for more volume. But nowhere is it a written rule that you have to do that. You've routinely heard me explain that you can look like a rock star with 5 pictures or a hack with 10. Keep your portfolio small. Don't think that showing every photo you take will make you look good. In fact, don't even think that showing one photo from every shoot that you do is a good idea, because that's just going to lower the perceived quality of your work. You want and need to wow people. For me, the key to making sure that a model or makeup artist doesn't bring my shoot down, it's my prep. I plan in advance for every little detail, everything that I want to go right, and for everything that might go wrong. I plan for the best and I expect the worst. Yes, this takes time and effort, and it is definitely not as much fun as shooting. But all the effort and detail that goes into planning, and I'm talking about OCD level planning, it ensures that I walk onto a set with my model and I've created a perfect storm. I have everything just the way I want it or like it. And now I can turn my attention, that mindfulness part, to my subject. And that is exactly where it belongs while I'm shooting. So my prep begins when I schedule my shoot. As soon as a model agrees to a shoot date, the first question I ask, if it is a female model, is that an okay time of the month for you to be shooting? Because I want you to feel your best. You may think that that's an awkward or even inappropriate conversation to have with a girl who is potentially young enough to be my daughter. Not at all. It is an honest concern, and I'm routinely thanked for thinking about it because they will routinely overlook it. My prep covers everything from clothing selection and how to iron and hang up before coming to the studio. Heck, I even remind my models to get a good night's sleep before the shoot. And I make it clear, I won't photograph them if they walk into my studio tired from a night of partying. I remind them about breakfast, tell them what to wear to the shoot. If I'm shooting bodywear or nudes, I don't want my model wearing underwear with elastic. Otherwise, I'll be retouching for hours to take out all the lines. I always have my lighting planned for at least my first 2 or 3 shots of the day. That way, I'm able to ease into the shoot and really focus on my subject and my interaction with the subject while I'm shooting. If I'm experimenting with something new, I'll test it out a day or so in advance so that I have more confidence going in and so that I'm not fumbling my way through it while I have a subject waiting to be photographed. Now, when I begin shooting, this is where the mindfulness becomes the biggest challenge. That's because when I have the camera in my hand and a subject in front of me, I have to multitask. I have to keep my subject engaged. I have to pay attention to the camera settings, the lighting, and the details that are in front of my camera. Is the hair in place? Is the clothing wrinkled? Is the collar folded up? Is the bikini or bra strap twisted? How about the body language? Does it look awkward? This can sometimes feel overwhelming, but this is why I am OCD about my prep. The more of these potential issues that I can solve before I shoot, the less I have to deal with during the shoot. Now, here's what I suggest. Throughout my career, I've made it a point to go back and review past shoots with an eye towards what can I do better? How can I improve it? Sorry, but there is always room for improvement. Remember, never accept good enough. Now, you may be wondering how going back through your work helps improve your ability to see details. In my opinion, it is the key to learning and improving your ability to see details. Remember that mindfulness part? We are so used to multitasking. In fact, some people even brag about their ability to multitask. But the fact is that humans do not multitask well, period. Science has taught us that. So in real time, when you're planning a shoot or actually doing a shoot, you work very hard to see those details. But the way you really build your ability to overcome those human deficiencies, like the inattentional blindness and change blindness, is you build your visual database. A photographer's visual database is his or her collection of photography experience. It's that thing that makes experience more valuable than knowledge. As a teenager, I photographed the egg, and I figured out that if I put my light source too close to my subject, I got harsh shadows, even if I was using a large modifier. I figured this out long before I knew what the inverse square law was. Your visual database is built with practice, and it's built with experimentation, but it's wired together and it's made searchable by taking the time to review your work. Not 30 seconds after you shoot, but days or weeks or even better yet, months or years after you shoot. Reviewing your work when there's no pressure, no distractions, when you're focused on one thing, the details of what went into your shots and what the outcome was. This is how you teach yourself to see the details, and more importantly, to see them in real time and to see them consistently. I used to struggle with twisted bikini straps much longer than I should have. It might have something to do with the sexy girl in the bikini thing, but I can't blame that on her, right? I started to make it a self-imposed rule that if I made that mistake, I would take the time to fix it in Photoshop. Believe me, do that a few times, you will never miss a twisted strap again. Okay, hopefully you can understand the importance of details, the need to pay attention and to develop your skills, not just with your camera or lighting, but your ability to be picky. So if I may quote Ryan Cooper, accept nothing but the best that you can possibly create, for it is in that space where truly magical work is created. And to quote myself, put in the hard work and don't be afraid to suck. And those are my Tog thoughts for the week. Thanks for listening, gang. I appreciate it. So as always, it is so great to see you here. There are lots of my regulars. Trevor's here, Kevin's here, Braulio's here. I know Sven's here. Lots of new people too. John, Thaddeus, Sean's back, Paul. Gosh, all you guys. Marcos, Ricky, thank you for coming out on a Monday night. It's greatly appreciated. So start loading in those questions, gang. Let's really quick take care of a couple business things, okay? So first up, you know the drill. Please, like a thumbs up. Greatly, greatly appreciated. This is a big one, gang. I say it every week, but I want to pause for a minute. I'm at 93,000 subscribers and change. I know that there are some of you tonight that are here that have not subscribed yet. Please take a second and hit that subscribe button. I know it sounds like a really desperate thing, asking for the likes and the subscribes, but at the end of the day, what you have to know is it's not for my ego. It's actually for my pocketbook, and it helps me maintain what I'm doing because those numbers have a big impact on my ability to get teaching gigs, to get sponsors for the channel, all that kind of stuff. So it only takes you a second. It's really, really appreciated. And by subscribing, you get notified when new videos come out so that you don't miss any videos. And of course, if you're social, which I hope you are, you can follow me on all the social media platforms. You can find the links in the description below the video, but specifically, you'll find me most active on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And of course, comments are always appreciated, both here in the chat window as well as underneath the video. I'm sure you guys, if you've been to a couple of these before, you know that the comments that you're seeing or will be seeing in the video and in the chat window, they disappear when we're done. But everything that is underneath the video will remain. So a couple other quick notes. I mentioned this last week, and I'm really pleased to say one of the members of my Facebook group won this contest last week. But you folks know that I'm a light leader with PhotoFlex. And PhotoFlex runs a weekly contest. So I'm going to keep mentioning this every week because I want to be responsible for the winner every week. Why not? Okay. So the contest is called Share Your Lighting. Now, there are two benefits to this as far as I'm concerned. And no, it's not me having bragging rights that it was one of my followers that won. So let me go down. Ooh, look, they're talking about that guy, Joe Edelman in TogChat. So here's last week. This was a shot that was done by Mark Bischoff, who is a member of my Facebook group. But here's the way the contest works. You simply send PhotoFlex two pictures minimum. And what it is, one finished picture, the shot that you were trying to get. And I'm going to put the link to their Facebook page in the chat window here so you have it. But you also send them a behind the scenes picture. Now, here's the cool part about this. You don't have to use PhotoFlex gear. They would like you to use PhotoFlex gear, but you don't have to use PhotoFlex gear to win the contest, to win the prizes. No. So what you do is you send your two photos to that email address that I just put in the chat window. It's marketing@promarkbrands.com. Make sure you send them in by Tuesday of every week. They announce the winners every Wednesday. You should like and follow their page on Facebook. That way you'll know if your picture made it, okay? But here's the cool thing. There's two benefits to this. So I told you, you can win prizes. This week they're giving away a PhotoFlex reflector, which is really cool prize. But also, it gets you in the habit. It gets you in the habit of shooting behind the scenes shots of your setups. Now, why is that a good thing? Well, one, because you can win a prize, right? We already said that. Whoops, let me get rid of that little comment thing there that's sticking on top of that. There we go. Okay. The other benefit is you're creating images that become your workbook that you can look back and see exactly how you did things. I can't tell you how many times I'll ask people, hey, how'd you shoot that? And they're like, well, you know, I did a flash, but I don't remember where I set it, or I'm not sure if I used a beauty dish or if it was a softbox switch. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of don't know how you can forget that. I'm not kidding. I can go back and look at almost any shot I've ever done. I can tell you what I did. I may not know the aperture stuff and that without checking, you know, the EXIF data, but in terms of the lighting and the way I set things up, oh God, yeah, I know. But if you can't remember, take behind the scenes shots. That way you can always refer to them later. So Seriously, I want to see more of my followers winning this contest. Remember, doesn't have to be with PhotoFlex gear. That's a bonus, but not all the winners are with PhotoFlex gear. They give away prizes every week. Last year, they gave away a Spider holster setup. That's what Mark won. This week, it's a PhotoFlex reflector. I will make it a point to let you guys know every week during TogChat what they are going to be giving away. So if you remember my group or you're friends with Mark, congratulations to him. But check it out. Give it a shot. Okay. So let's switch the screen over here to the chat so that we get the chat questions in here. I promised you guys at least 30 minutes worth of questions. I've got 40 minutes left. And if it's your first time, I should probably be honest with you and let you know, I don't think I've ever finished a TogChat in 60 minutes yet. So my time management skills, I got to work on that. Okay. So I want to go back to the beginning here, way to the beginning. And by the way, another little tip for those of you that actually enjoy the interaction and enjoy these TogChat Q&As, the party starts early. I usually log in and start setting up around 5:45 to 6 p.m. Eastern time here in the US. So there are usually quite a few people that are in the chat room. Conversations are happening, questions are being asked and answered long before 6:30. So by all means, check it out. We'd love to have you there, okay? So Jean-Edward Calvino had a question really early on. I had a family shoot that was scheduled this Saturday. And on Saturday morning, the mom called me to reschedule because the baby woke up sick. She even sent pics. I can't imagine the sending pics of the sick baby part, but we'll leave that commentary out. What would you say is the best way to handle this not on purpose cancellation? Well, I'm assuming, John, that this was a paid shoot since you're worried about how to handle it. Because if it's just like a trade or something, well, it happened. Big deal. But if it was a paid gig, and especially if you're doing this professionally, some studios do require deposit up front and they do penalize the client for stuff like that. I am a big believer in trying to be a decent human being about things. And, you know, it kind of falls under the phrase of crap happens, right? So as long as the person is apologetic and as long as the person's not, you know, screwing you around and making a habit of this, hey, it happens. It's part of the process of doing business. And so it's, you know, it's something that we all deal with. So I would just go ahead and reschedule, you know, let them know that you would appreciate it, that you completely understand that babies get sick, but that you would appreciate it if they wait until the baby gets healthy so that they can be really confident. Obviously, if they cancel or reschedule on you a second time, then you want to deposit before you go, and you have to let them know that deposit's, you know, not refundable. But as it is now, if you don't have a policy that's written in advance, et cetera, you just write it off. It happens, unfortunately. Okay. Steve Trotter had a question. What are your comments on camera color checker cards like Data Color or X-Rite? I think they're great. I encourage people to use them or something like them. So, you know, using a gray card in your shot, using like the X-Rite color checkers are great. They're a little pricey, but they're great. I'm a big fan, which I talk about frequently, of the Expo Imaging Expo disc. I use that to create my custom color balances in camera when I shoot. And I use that pretty religiously, both in the studio and on location when I'm doing professional work. If I'm just out and about shooting for fun or taking pictures of my grandson, no, you know, I'm not worried about that at all. But when I'm shooting for professional stuff, yes, I will almost always create a custom white balance. Certainly, we could argue that with the white balance technology we have both in the cameras and in the software, if we're shooting raw, we could argue whether or not you need to do that, but here's why I do it. And it kind of goes back to film days for me. And that is that I want to see how all of my colors are interacting with whatever light source I'm shooting in. So it's not just about having the right white balance, but it's also making sure that you really understand what's going on with your colors. And so that's why I want to see the scene as close to the way that it should be replicated naturally. It's not to say I'm not going to change it later, because I may, but I do want to see that in advance whenever possible. So I think they're an absolutely great idea. Okay, so let me see here really quick. Marcos has a great question. So Marcos is my guy. I just want to see his follow-up really quick here. If you put a follow-up in, that could be something to expect from everything. Okay, so here we go. So Marcos asked a question, and I asked him for clarification because the English was a little confusing, and that's okay. Believe me, my languages other than English pretty much don't exist, so it's fine. So his question is, and for those of you that may be new to TogChats, Marcos is my deep thinker. He challenges me with the tough, meaningful questions every week, okay? So this one is, do you feel that photography has changed during the last several years? Not so much in a technological way, but in matters of the way of seeing. Do you feel that photography has evolved as a discipline? So I was a little confused by what he meant by it. So I went back in and I asked him specifically, do I feel that photography has changed in a way that has lowered the standards of quality? And his response, let me just go find it here really quick. Not only the standards of quality, but are photographers trying to go beyond taking good pictures, if that can be something to expect from every pro photographer? So it's a great question. So here's kind of both my interpretation of it and my response. I hear from a lot of photographers, and you read it a lot online. You read it in a lot of articles. If you follow like the F-stoppers and the Petapixels and the DIYphotography.nets, you frequently see people commenting, or you read articles where it's kind of the older, more traditional photographers bitching about the kind of the Instagram generation, shall we say. Recently there was a big article, Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter, his 13-year-old son is an incredible photographer, which, by the way, he's an incredible photographer. And we have, one of the Kardashian children that's shooting fashion and all this stuff. And is it just making a mockery of photography? I don't think it's making a mockery of photography. I don't think that it's lowering the standards. And to be fair, full disclosure, you guys know that I am absolutely not a TECHtographer. I don't believe in the right or wrong. Yes, in my personal taste, there are things that I like and I think are really important, and things that I don't like and think are not that important. But there are no rules. At the end of the day, does the picture accomplish its purpose? Does it evoke an emotion? Does it move someone? Does it get somebody to say, wow? And part of what we have to understand that through the course of evolution and through generational changes, people's taste changes. Society's taste changes. So, certainly things that would have been considered crap 30 years ago are considered cool today. But does that make them lesser quality? Absolutely not. Because what we tend to overlook is that maybe there are elements of what we're seeing that would be considered crap 30 years ago, but there are also elements of these images that we're seeing today that weren't being done or weren't being thought of 30 years ago. And that has to do with the style and the approach, all that kind of stuff. So, I think that, yes, there's been a lot of changes, especially, the social media era has, I think, impacted photography dramatically. Smartphones have impacted photography dramatically. I think it's awesome. I think it's great. I think that it gives us something that's new. It excites, it invigorates, it forces us to change the way that we look at things, and it forces us to rethink the accepted norms. So I'm a huge believer in all of those, shall we say, opportunities when it comes to the changes. I think they're great. So Jean-Edward Calvino, thank you. I'm not sure if it's the new blue glasses or the new lighting or something else, but you look sharp today. Well, I greatly appreciate that. Hey, I just wanted to take a second and I wanted to acknowledge somebody. And I kind of feel bad because I didn't know about this photographer until literally just about 3 days ago. But let me switch over here. This is another YouTube channel. It's by a photographer down in Florida. His name is Darren Miles. Somebody sent me this video. And so Darren, if you're watching or if you see this, thank you. Really, like a lot. I am both honored to be included in your list. And honestly, I'm more flattered that another excellent photographer is acknowledging my work. But Darren has a YouTube channel. It is all about photography, of course. And Darren did a video about the state of YouTube photography channels and rising stars and the old guard and an exception. So I am very proud and honored to say that I was #1 or actually, I guess the first on the list or the fifth on the, however, but I was the first guy that he mentioned in the new guard. And he had some really, really kind things to say about me. So Darren, I just wanted to publicly, I left a comment on your video, but I wanted to publicly thank you very, very much, and point the rest of you to his channel, let you know that that video exists. And the cool part of it is he actually mentioned some YouTube channels that are about photography in his video that I had not been aware of previously. So it might be worth your while to go ahead and check that out. Okay. So Eric, thank you very, very much for the super chat, man. So super chats, guys, they always jump to the front of the queue. I'm going to try and do my best to get to all the questions before we sign off tonight. But if you have a question that you really need answered, click on that. Whoops, it's this side. Click on that little dollar sign. It's down at the bottom there. Okay. And I will make sure that even if I have to stay late, I'll answer all the super chat questions. So Eric's question, due to an injury, sorry about your injury, I have a problem with camera shake and I prefer to shoot from a tripod. Since that's not always possible, do you have any hand stabilizing tips aside from shutter speed, lenses, VC? Okay, so, wow. I would say a couple of things. So I'm just going to kind of go down my list of stabilizing techniques that you haven't mentioned. So obviously, you know, tripod's going to be first and foremost. Second to a tripod, though, for me is always a monopod. Now, lately, I will tell you guys, in fact, I'm going to do a video in a week or so. This is just going to be a quick one that I'm going to do about a little Benro tripod that I've been using recently. And it's lightweight, it's compact, it's carbon fiber. But I've actually been using it as a monopod. So when I'm out on location and shooting stuff, if I'm working with, you know, my Nikon D810, it's not a heavy duty tripod that's designed for the big pro end cameras. But if I only need it for like a quick shot or two, then like that's cool. I'll use it. But what I do use it for a lot is as a tripod. I just keep the legs, or excuse me, a monopod. I keep the legs folded down and I use this thing as a monopod and it's awesome. So basically it's the same size and the same weight as carrying the monopods that I used to carry, but it will also double as a tripod if I'm in a pinch. So Eric, the first thing I'm going to tell you is go with like a really lightweight portable tripod and use it as a monopod. Beyond that, basically the big thing is make sure you are holding the camera properly, meaning camera always is held in your left hand, always. Every camera manual that is made for every camera on the market today tells you hold the camera in your left hand. The left hand supports the weight and the elbow comes down against the body. So that's giving you the support that you need. That's the important one. And then of course, you know, the one thing that we've heard for years and years and years, which it really does work. A lot of people don't pay a whole lot of attention to it, but that is just inhale, hold your breath briefly right before you shoot. It's also taking any body motion out. But for me, I would encourage you maybe consider a monopod for those situations, or the lightweight tripod used as a monopod for those situations where you can't work with your full tripod. Okay, I hope that helps. So let's back up here a little bit, see what we got. Alicore Productions, what's the best lens to use for headshots, Joe? I am always talking about that Tokino 100mm f2.8 lens. I talk about it here. Let me get over to my YouTube channel here. I'll bring that back up on the screen. If you go to my channel and you type in lenses for portraits, okay? Whoops, yeah, and it helps if you spell it right. Type that into the search bar up at the top of the channel. You will get this video right here, best lenses for portraits. So watch that video. I go into great detail about my preferences for portrait lenses, right down to the brands that I use and all that kind of stuff. So Robert Julian, within your intro video, there's a scene where it says drop that camera, and that's what you appear to do. Please tell us you didn't really drop the camera. Robert Julian, I'm sorry, but I swear to God, I really dropped the camera. Honest. Now, I didn't damage the camera. I did it intentionally. It was well thought through. Underneath me, at about knee level, is a huge pile of pillows with two big comforters over top that kind of caught the camera. But in order to get the sound, it really is the sound of the camera hitting the comforters. What I did is I took a piece of paper, stiff, almost like manila type paper, and laid that right underneath the spot where the camera was. So the sound you hear hitting, which kind of sounds like it hitting the floor, it's actually hitting this paper as it's falling into the soft material. So I promise you that no Nikon D810s were damaged in the making of my intro video. I promise, okay? So let's see here. Brian Hallback, if you have a studio at home, but your home is not the most desirable place to shoot, should you as a business person suggest shooting on location with a portable studio? Brian, you should do, honestly, whatever you're gonna be most comfortable with. Again, photographers, it's all about problem solving. So it's been, for me, gosh, 7 years now? 7 or 8 years since I have had a home-based studio that I do most of my work in. I will rent a larger space if I need to do something where I have a lot of people coming in or I need more space to shoot. But the big transition concern for me when I did it, at the time, I was shooting exclusively modeling portfolios. So it was kind of like, okay, what's it going to be like saying, yeah, come on, I'll shoot your modeling portfolio. Come on down to my basement. Like, that just doesn't sound like a great thing. So what I learned is that, number one, I had a good body of work. So I was very honest with people, very upfront. I always gave people an opportunity to come and meet me there first, bring a friend if they wanted, all that stuff. So it's all a matter in how you approach it. So yeah, if you are uncomfortable or don't feel that your home is an ideal scenario, by all means, work on location or set up some type of a portable studio. That's not a problem at all. Okay. Raymond Gladwell, seriously thinking about getting a Rapidome, but haven't really mastered your umbrella yet. Worth making the jump. So obviously, I'm a PhotoFlex light leader. I don't get paid by them, but I'm a huge fan. But Raymond, I'm going to tell you the same thing I always talk about. If you haven't mastered your umbrella, don't get the Rapidome yet. Use the umbrella as that incentive piece. The Rapidome is the prize, okay? Master the umbrella and you get to buy the Rapidome. But sincerely, buying another lighting mod, if you haven't mastered the first one that you have, you're really just going to make it harder on yourself. You're not going to make your work any better. It's not going to make your work any simpler. So I really would encourage you, don't buy it yet. Use the Rapidome as your prize, your reward for mastering that umbrella. That would be my suggestion to you, okay? Elad6K, just got a Pentax. Congratulations, man. Say, somebody's got to buy Pentaxes. In all fairness, people always ask me why I'm so tough on Pentax users. It's a joke, but I didn't start the joke. So I get it. I perpetuate the joke. So I'm a fan. If you haven't heard of the photographer named Joey Lawrence, you need to learn about the photographer named Joey Lawrence. So go Google him. He is a wickedly talented kid. Literally, he's a man now, but he's a kid, okay? Compared to me, anyway. Joey Lawrence did a rap video about Nikon and Canon, and he basically disses Pentax in the video. And the video is brilliant. It's a brilliant video. If you go look it up, if you Google Joey Lawrence, and you'll have to go back, it's a bunch of years ago, but it's a rap video. I think he's out on the beach, and he's singing about Canon and Nikon and his girlfriend, and then he's got this zinger in there for Pentax. And it's literally just, for some reason, it's stuck with me, and so every so often, I put in this little diss to Pentax. At the end of the day, and keep in mind, guys, I kind of feel the same way about, cameras like Olympus and that kind of stuff. Olympus is like right in my backyard. Their American headquarters is literally 10 minutes from me. So here in the Lehigh Valley in Allentown, Pennsylvania, even the local camera club and several big photography events that happen here are sponsored by Olympus. And yeah, here's this guy that doesn't talk much about Olympus. I own a couple Olympus lenses for my Panasonic, and they're great lenses. But yeah, I mean, hey, as long as you're happy with it and it's doing what you need, that's awesome. So, Lance Sinclair, love your insight. What would you suggest one do to make creative and original photographs? Wow, Lance, I need about 6 hours for that, but I will tell you this. Go back and watch every one of my TogChats that I've ever done, all of my videos, and then when it comes to picking up the camera, just be yourself, man. Because that's the only way you're going to do anything creative. One of the big mistakes that young and new photographers make is they get the idea of, copy other photographers, which is great for the purpose of learning. But if you copy and then settle in and that's where you stay, you're just a boring second. And you will never be more than a boring second. So, that's when I get talking about the zombie-tographers, okay? Don't be a zombie-tographer. So you have to be yourself, and you have to give yourself a chance to find out what that is and who that is, which means shoot a lot, practice a lot. That's the only way you're ever going to do that, okay? So Paul Sutton, thank you for I appreciate the thank you for my channel. Sorry. Definitely appreciate the kind words. So Tom Cooper, Joey L is definitely, in fact, Tom Cooper, I disagree with you. Joey L is not just an outstanding photographer. He is an incredible photographer. That's why I say I hate him just a little bit, because he's, don't get me wrong, the guy works his butt off, but he is also an incredible natural talent. He's one of those people, like me, he was fortunate enough to figure out very early in life what he wanted to be. But unlike me, he is just insanely talented. And the guy really was meant to be a photographer. So for all of you, I would encourage you, check out his work. Absolutely incredible. So Marco, what can I do in case a client posts a picture that you took on social medias with filters or other modifications? Well, the problem is once they've done it, all you can do is be a nice guy and politely ask them to take it down. If you email them and say, oh my God, you can't modify my picture, take that down, they're going to say, screw you. And they should. So let's back up first and let's understand that the real mistake is that you didn't explain to them before you gave them the photo what they are able to do with it. I've never had a client or subject add filters to one of my pictures and mess with it on their social media profiles. Ever. Why? Because I've never given a client images without having a conversation in advance about what they can and can't do with them. And I don't mean like, okay, you're allowed to do this, this, and this. Don't do this, this, this. No. Just a conversation that says, hey, by all means, post these things. Do me a favor, though. Please don't run any filters on them or do any of that kind of stuff, because I put a lot of effort into these. And if you change them, you have to understand that reflects on me and what I do. And I'll tell them, like, let's say, for instance, maybe they want to use one for a timeline cover, which means it's going to be a weird crop. I'll tell them, and you should do the same. Hey, if you decide you want one of these pictures for a timeline cover, that's awesome. But do me a favor, please. Just shoot me an email. Tell me that, you want to use that. And then I will make you a file that size so that you can do it. Okay, and I do that at no cost. Okay, AGB Milano, Joey Lawrence, Rob Quinn, thank you for posting that name. Okay, yes, ABG Milano, definitely look him up. Brilliant photographer, wickedly talented. Thaddeus Grant, how much of your work and shoots is firmly planned and how much is off the cuff? So kind of like what I was talking about in my intro tonight, my work is really heavily planned so that I can be creative. So follow along, because I'm going to put a couple of my videos together all in one conversation here. So you better go watch these videos. I do all the planning to create the perfect storm. That way I walk onto the set, I know what I am going to do. Then I make it a point. Get the shot that I planned the way that I planned it. And understand that I'm not that good. Meaning, my idea was probably just okay. So here's where I need to be creative now. So now that I've got my shot, now I'm going to work the shot. I have a video called Work the Shot. Watch it. I talk about it in a lot more detail. I'm going to, at that point, try different things and experiment so that I can hopefully completely outdo and better my original idea. So that's the approach. Vincent, I got off topic. I'm sorry. You mentioned here about the photo reflects your work and then the client adds a filter. It's not you anymore. So it's all about having the good, positive conversation in advance. Once it's up there and you haven't had that conversation, you have to take it as a learning experience and realize your fault for just handing over the picture. You should have had the conversation. So ask politely, but don't be the photographer that starts making all kind of threats and tries to bully people and that kind of stuff. It's just not worth it, and it's not going to be good for your business. So. Manuel Bernandez, have you done any personal photography projects apart from your iPhoneography? Something that's just for you, only for pleasure? Yeah, my fine artwork. My fine artwork has been published and that kind of stuff in very few places. I mean, it's really just kind of been for me, mainly because I'm still kind of trying to figure out where I want to go with it. And I'm kind of casually, loosely working on a project that, for lack of a better phrase, I call it my Maryland project. The reason I say lack of a better phrase is because somebody's actually using that name for something out there, and that's cool. But it's a set of images that's based on the photographs called The Last Sitting from Bert Stern that were shot of Marilyn Monroe right before she died. But where I am basically photographing lots of different people, all different ages, all different body types in that kind of backlit bedroom type sitting or session scenario, excuse me. And at some point I would love to be able to do maybe like some type of a gallery exhibit or something like that with them. But my problem is, honestly, Manuel, I stay so damn busy. The idea of like going off and just doing something that's completely for fun, that's a little challenging. And don't get me wrong, don't feel sorry for me. I love what I do. So I'm having a ton of fun doing all this stuff. But yes, I'm one of those people that has a bad habit of kind of overextending myself. So the idea of just kind of taking back and just doing something mindless to see where it takes me, that doesn't happen as often as I really kind of wish it would, but that's my own fault. So, okay. Let's see. Eric Arnold, I use a Manfrotto monopod, but I feel like it takes too long to use at times with height setup and camera attachment. I've heard about pressing the camera to your forehead for additional support. Yes or no? Yeah, I mean, that'll work. Stay tuned, Eric, for my video that I'm going to do about this little tripod and how I use it as a monopod. I think that that actually may be kind of a helpful solution for you. And at the end of the day, the only way you're going to find kind of the perfect solution is to keep experimenting with things. But you know, one thing is, old school as it is, get a 1/4-20 thumb screw that's got like a little loop on the bottom of it. Screw that into the bottom of your camera and tie a good solid piece of string, or better yet, parachute cord that you can buy on Amazon. Tie that, a long stretch of it, long enough to reach the floor. And then what you do is, when you're ready to shoot, if you need to stabilize, you step on the parachute cord and lift the camera up so that you're basically putting tension on the parachute cord. That also helps to steady you. So interestingly enough, it's working the opposite way of what we normally think of a tripod, because normally we think about the support being underneath. This way you're creating the support by lifting up and creating tension on the parachute cord. People have done it with string, they've done it with fishing line. I just think parachute cord is one of the best because it, what was I going to say? It has a little bit of flex to it. Okay, that's why. Let me see if I can find here real quick. I got a couple people asking about the Joey Lawrence video. Let's see if we can track that down. There you go, guys. It may not be on YouTube. Here, I got a link for you. It's coming up. It's on. I found this version on Vimeo. Here, let me get you the link. Sorry. It's coming. But this is what I was talking about. So the song is called Nikon Girl. Wow, it's like a massive link. And it's too long. Oh, come on. Seriously? All right. Hang on, gang. The things that I do for you guys. Let's see here. So this is the Joey Lawrence video. There it is. Okay? So now you guys are all going to go watch the Joey Lawrence video while I'm talking. That's okay. I'm used to being ignored. I totally get it. It's all right. So let's see here. Jarek, you're welcome. Okay? Backing up here. What about the one still put filter after you told them not before giving them the pics? Oh, ethnic photography. So what about the ones that still put a filter on after you told them not to before giving the pics? I'm not kidding. I've never had that happen. You can't just say to your client, don't put a filter on it. Well, of course they're going to put a filter on it then. You have to explain why. You have to explain the benefits of them not putting the filter on it and make sure that they understand that you're going to help them. Okay? That's all. As part of that conversation, I explain the idea of copyright to my clients. And at the same time, while I'm explaining copyright, I explain modeling releases and all that work so that they know they have rights too. Okay? But I'm not kidding. I've never had anybody do it. So it's not an issue. Okay? Let's see here. Let me back up, see where these other questions were. Going back here. Paul Sutton. I have a Micro Four Thirds system. I have both the Panasonic Leica 4528 and the Panasonic Leica 45. I understand the crop factor affects the angle of view. 2 times for, compared to 35 millimeter, Paul, it's 2 times on a micro 4/3. So that 42.5 millimeter is basically the same as using an 85 millimeter. That's essentially how that's gonna work. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know why you would need to own a 45 millimeter and a 42.5, but hey, if you're a GEARtographer, then cool. They're both like really nice lenses, but they're basically both giving you kind of like the same thing, okay? Marcel, you asked earlier, you said your T6i is kind of giving you some problems, and then you asked if you should switch to Sony. So here's the thing, guys, and sorry, gang, I'm not in the mood to do a Sony rant tonight, but Marcel, you're not making any sense, okay? So Marcel asked me earlier, he said his Canon T6i is giving him some problems. Should he switch to a Sony? He's considering, he said, the A7R2 or the new one, which is the Sony A9. So now he's typed in here, he already has more than $3,000 in Canon lenses. Okay, enough said, but I need to find a more pro camera. The T6i only has 1.5 years, but it's beginning to give him some problems. Should I leave Canon to another brand and forget the Mark IV? Marcel, I think that would be the dumbest thing in the world to do. Literally. And it's nothing against Sony. It's about the fact that you're $3,000 invested in Canon glass. Now, here are the real factors that you need to be considering. Okay? Because you're talking about a pro camera like it's going to make your work better, Marcel. And that means you're not really paying attention to my videos. Because you're not. You need to go back through my last several TogChats because I address all this in a lot of detail, okay? So the pro camera is not going to make you a better photographer. Right now, all you need is a working camera. The irony of it is the only reason you have given me to upgrade your camera is that your T6i is giving you some problems. You haven't said that there's a technique that I'm desperate to do and I can't do it with the T6i. You haven't said that the image quality from the T6i sucks. You haven't said any of that. You just said you're having problems with your T6i. Should I get a pro camera? Should I go to a new system where I have to buy all new lenses? Or worse yet, buy adapters from my Canon lenses? Come on, man. That's not how it works. A new camera is not going to make you a better photographer. That was 2 TogChats, like 3 TogChats ago, 2 TogChats ago. Go check it out, please. But honestly, Marcel, I'm really serious. I'm sorry to pick on you for that, but come on, man. You know I am never going to advocate just buying gear with the idea that it will make you better. It won't, okay? So there is no such thing as a pro camera. That's crap. There are pro photographers. I have a video, What Makes You a Professional. Go watch that video. But there are no pro cameras. A camera is a camera is a camera, period. I do great pictures with my iPhone. Okay, remember that. So, all right, let's get back here. Vincent, yes, good photos come from the photographer, not from the camera. That is absolutely right. Clint James, it's about time you made it, man. Glad you're here. Okay, so guys, I'm going to scroll back and I'm going to look for some more questions here, but add some more questions in, or I might actually finish on time tonight. That means it'll probably snow somewhere. So. Here is, where was it? Dusty D. Question, what flash modifier can you recommend for shooting events, especially when no ceiling or wall is available to bounce off of? Okay, so, Dusty, I'm going to give you an answer that's probably going to surprise the crap out of a lot of people, because all the GEARtographers are going to say flash benders, rogue flash benders. Now, I want to be really clear. Rogue flash benders are awesome in the right hands. Most people are not in the right hands. So what I would recommend, you ready guys? Sit down for this. I would recommend that you get LumaQuest modifiers. LumaQuest modifiers are not sexy. LumaQuest modifiers look like they were built and designed in the 1970s. Because they were. LumaQuest modifiers, here's the reason why you buy them. They are dummy proof. Rogue flash benders require that you truly understand light and how light operates and how light travels and all that good stuff. They're great modifiers. They're really, really well built. They're extremely versatile. But you don't just slap a Rogue flash bender on your strobe and it starts making you great light in the situations that you are referring to, Dusty. No. LumaQuest has a lot more science built into their modifiers. In fact, if you do some Googling on the gentleman who designed them, you will find that there is a ton of science behind the way the LumaQuest modifiers are designed. Better than a Fong thing and all that stuff. They're all gimmicky, gadgety, and they're great if you really, really, really understand how to use them. But if you want a dummy-proof modifier, LumaQuest, all the way, hands down. Look them up. Trevor Baldwin, have you ordered your new phone yet? Not yet. And for all the griping I do about GEARtographers, I am one of those really pathetic Apple fanboys. So I am reluctantly, and I do mean reluctantly, going to be purchasing an iPhone X, most likely. I say reluctantly because I'm really, really PO'd about the way Apple came out with the two phones and priced them. Because basically the only way you are going to get a functional phone with the iPhone X is to buy the big one, which is going to be like $1,150. But I will not buy this one immediately. I will wait a month or so. And the reason I will do that, it's real simple. This new iPhone X, it's a new phone. It's not an upgrade. It's not a redesign. Well, it is a redesign, but it's a redesign in the sense that it's a completely new phone. So there's a lot of new technology in it, a lot of new parts, a lot of things that, if we are, being honest, a lot of things that could go wrong. Okay. So I am not willing to take a chance with it on day one. I'll let it come out and then I will, most likely upgrade. But especially because of the camera features in it and what it looks like it's going to be able to do. Yeah, I'll definitely upgrade. So, Thomas Palmer, how do you deal with unsupportive family? Young photographer here. Thomas, that's always fun. You've obviously never heard me tell the story about my mother not letting me get my first camera, and I went and took the money out of my bank account just to piss her off and bought it anyway. Not suggesting that you should do that, but just saying, I don't know your specific situation, Thomas, but for the most part, I know that most parents want to see their children happy. Certainly, a lot of parents tend to inflict their own standards, and oftentimes their own standards based on their own successes and failures on their children, which can be a really sucky thing for a child to have to live up to. So I think if that's the kind of situation that you're dealing with, I think your challenge is take whatever work you have available, take whatever you can do, and raise it to the best quality level that you can. And instead of being a teenager and whining about it and doing all those teenager things, you've got to grow up a little bit more than your parents. And you've got to be willing then to sit down and reason out with your parents why you're making the choices that you're making and why this is so important to you. And not expect them to hand you money to do it, but basically simply ask them for the support in letting you pursue it. And then you've got to take it upon yourself to find ways to open doors, make money, etc. Okay. It's not easy, but I promise you that's kind of the background that I came from to a degree. So, keep following and you will hear a lot more about that, because it's something I'm a firm believer in. And if you're not a part of my Facebook group, do join the Facebook group. And that's a discussion I would gladly continue in the Facebook group and try and help you out with. There's the link in the chat window for you guys. So, so let's see here. Steve Land, any suggestions on who to have make your prints? I currently use Adorama Picks and they come out pretty good. Just asking other opinions to compare another company. At this point, Steve, I do so little printing, but I will tell you what I know, what I've heard, and what I do, okay? So what I've heard, I know that Jared Poland, Phonos Photo, uses Adorama Picks. He loves them. I'm sure he's also getting sponsored and getting free prints, but the stuff always looked pretty good. In the past, I've worked with Bay Photo in San Francisco. They do awesome work. The little bit of printing that I do now, I send it out to a company that is in the state of Maryland. It's near Baltimore. It's a company called Nations Photo Lab, N-A-T-I-O-N-S, Nations Photo Lab. Love their work. Their prices are very reasonable. They're easy to do business with. I've been thrilled with everything that I have ever sent them and gotten great results with it. So I will say this, the bottom line. Don't just switch to a lab because somebody recommended them. Send out multiple orders. Take an image that you really like, that you're proud of. Do your research on 2 or 3 labs that you think would be good to work with based upon feedback from other people, sure. But then test all 3 of them. See who's giving you the best results, and that's where you send your work. That would be my advice. So Al Lipscomb, if you were going to buy your first studio light to use for learning, what would you recommend? Al, watch the LED series that I'm doing right now. In fact, here, let me switch back real quick. Thank you, Al, for reminding me that I haven't talked about this week's video. This week's video is all about specular. These are like some seriously cool lights, gang. Here, let me put the link in the chat window so you guys can go check this out. But Al, I am in the middle of a video series. It's going to be a 4-part series, maybe 5-part. But this was video number 2 that went out this weekend. There it is, right there. Okay, so it's all about LED lighting. So in today's world, with the technology that we have available, I would encourage anybody that's just getting started with lighting in a studio, since that was what your question is, I would encourage them to work with a constant light, and I would encourage them to work with an LED light. And there are a lot of different ones. Now, full disclosure, I love those specular lights that I just showed you the link to. I would not make that your first light. Stay tuned for some of the lights that I have coming out. I think they are definitely better suited for a first intro into studio lighting. But strobes are great. Strobes are powerful. Strobes are very important. Understand there's no one light that's going to do everything that you need as a photographer. There just isn't. People keep looking for that one light that is like the holy grail of lighting. Ain't going to happen, gang. It's just not. Okay? So based on your question, I would definitely say go with an LED constant light. You're going to learn a lot more, a lot faster, in my opinion. Okay, so let's see here. Francisco, I really like the Magmod system for speed light modifiers. Yeah, and again, Magmod's cool, but it's a much different modifier than what you're talking about with the Rogues and with the LumaQuest and what he was asking. So I like the Magmods in terms of their simplicity and their quickness. But I actually don't think they're as good a modifier when it comes to doing event work where you're wanting something that's going to do a bounce and all that type of stuff. Okay. Marcel, it's not about to have a better picture. I just don't want to buy another $1,000 camera and after 1 year have to buy another one and so on. That was the sense of my question. No, Marcel. Okay. So if that's the point behind your question, if the camera's only lasting 1.5 years, have it repaired. So, it is not normal for a camera to only last 1.5 years unless you have used it aggressively. Maybe it's taken a hit, or maybe there was a problem with the manufacturing of it. Canon, Nikon, Sony, these companies haven't lasted this long or gotten to be this big because they're producing junk gear. Now, the fact of the matter is they're producing stuff in factories. So every now and then does one come out and it's, not quite the way it should be? It does. And it really sucks to be the person that gets that camera. But it happens. So, my sincere advice to you, if that's the only thing that's causing you to think this, I would look into having that, I would look into having it repaired and dig a little bit deeper in the problem. Because you're talking about, you've been having issues with it, but you're not telling me what the issues are. So, it's a little bit vague here. You have to understand, broad-based questions just get narrow opinions. That's the whole problem there, okay? So, Tazvis, Flashpoint Explorer 600 or the Pulse Heat Buff Einstein plus Vagabond? Neither. Pulse Heat Buff Digibee DB800 plus a Vagabond. I have no need for an Einstein, and I certainly don't have any need for the Explorer 600. So, nice flash, but full of gimmicks. Who needs them? So, Eric Arnold, can you talk more about Patreon? I can, sure. Patreon right here, www.patreon.com/Joe Edelman. For as little as $1 per month, you can help support what I'm doing here on YouTube and the teaching that I'm doing. And you get exclusive access every Friday night. I do a live Zoom chat using the Zoom technology. All you need is a webcam and a microphone on your computer, and you can participate real time via live video with both myself and other patrons from all around the world. We have people from Europe that participate in the chat. We have Doreen from Barbados. Doreen's here in TogChat tonight. We've got people from all over the place. So it's a lot of fun. The topics vary, everything from Photoshop to shooting to sometimes just shooting the breeze. It's nice to get to know people and what they're doing and how they do it and why they do it. So I do post some exclusive content on Patreon, but I'm not asking for people to go and spend tons and tons of money on Patreon. I mean, literally, you could make a huge difference by pledging to $1 a month. That's $12 a year. I would rather, I've got 93,000 subscribers on YouTube. If I could get like, a tenth of them to do $1 per month, I would be able to hire people and do so much more than what I'm doing now. So I'm not looking for anybody to bankroll, any one person or any few people to bankroll what I'm doing. But indeed, $1 per month would be hugely helpful. When you sign up on Patreon, you'll be asked to set a pledge level. And it says, I'll forewarn you, whatever dollar amount you pick, it says per video. Don't panic. I'm not lying to you. You can do $1 a month. After you click that, the very next screen, it's going to ask you, do you want to set a monthly maximum donation? That's where you set it at $1 per month, and you're good to go. If you can afford more, awesome. But $1 per month, it would be tremendously helpful. Whatever it is, gang, if you can't afford to do that, no stress. I appreciate your being here, helping out. You can definitely support me and help me by doing the thumbs up, leaving the comments, making sure you subscribe, and tell your photography friends about the channel. Get the word out there. There's still a lot of people that don't know about what we're doing yet. Okay. So Steve Trotter, my grandson just turned 6. So I gave him my old point and shoot Rico. He was so excited and started taking photos right away. One of his first photos was some petrified poo. Kids will be kids, man. But hey, that's awesome. I'm still very torn with the idea. My grandson is about to turn 3, and on one hand, it would be really cool to put a camera in his hands. But he's still kind of at that point where he's a little scattered with things. So I want to wait until he gets a little bit more, kind of like tuned in on things. Even with photographing him, I'm sure that if it was up to my son and daughter-in-law, I would be doing studio portraits like every other week. But to their credit, they never ask for that. They don't push for that. I take lots of pictures of him. Most of them are with my iPhone. A lot of them are with my Panasonics. And part of it is I don't want Joe Pop, that's what he calls me. I don't want Joe Pop to be a pain in the butt with a camera all the time, shoved in his face. So I try to make the studio shoots with him kind of once or twice a year, kind of special things. And I take him all by myself, like nobody else is allowed to be in the studio when we do it, so that we can kind of play and make it a fun time. But yeah, I can't wait to get a camera in his hands, actually. But it's kind of all about picking the right time for me. So let's see. Another equipment question. Do you have a favorite color collaboration tool for your computer screens? Like, monkey smile versus spider. Okay, calibration tool. Got it. I use the spider. That's my favorite, but I will tell you that I've heard great things about the monkey as well. So I would tell you a little bit about look at it from the standpoint of your budget, which has the features that you really want, etc. But I've heard nothing bad about either of them, in that sense. So I see a question here from Shane Davies. When can you truly call yourself a professional photographer? Shane, you must be new here. It's okay. I'm glad you're here. Go back to my YouTube channel. In the search bar up at the top of the page, type in the word professional and you will find this video. How do you define professional? There is my answer in 6 minutes and 11 seconds worth of detail to your question. Okay? Check it out, please. Tell me what you think when you're done. All right? So let's see. What else do we have here? Let's see. Alonzo, what do you think about the Neo 2 from Rotolite? I think it's a gimmick. I think conceptually it's the future. The idea that LEDs will be flashes, flashes will be LEDs, et cetera, et cetera. I just don't think it's worth all the hype yet. I think it's a step in that direction, but I'm not a huge fan. I'm certainly not going to run out and buy one. I don't see the value in it. So I know that because Mr. Lanier is big on them, that a lot of the Sony people are like, oh, and on, like, oh my God, it's the greatest thing since Swiss cheese. No, it's not. It's cool. But you know, it's unfortunately so many of the people that I see oohing and eyeing over it and talking about it, like online on Facebook and that, are people that actually have no need for it. They're GEARtographers and they just think it's neat, so they're going to spend the money. I definitely would not consider that unit for the purpose that they are marketing it yet. In time, and maybe they'll be the first to get there, but this one's not it. So let's see, lover guy, what computer equipment do you need to participate on Patreon? You have a laptop that has a webcam and a built-in microphone? That's all you need. You don't need anything fancy. Zoom is a little program that you'll download. It's available for PC and Mac. Literally, it takes seconds. It's super lightweight, so it doesn't eat up a ton of hard drive space. It's really light on system resources. And basically, it allows you to use your webcam, and it allows you to use your built-in microphone. That's all you need. And literally, like, and plus, here's one of the bonuses I forgot to mention. If you sign up for Patreon and you join us in the Zoom chats, Doreen, who I mentioned, is here. Doreen routinely takes us for walks on the beach in Barbados while we are having our Zoom chat. So, I mean, come on. Who else offers you that kind of an opportunity to learn photography in the comfort of your own home while virtually walking on the beach in Barbados? I mean, come on, guys. You can't get that anywhere else. Okay? So, let's see here. When we go shooting together, yep. Oh, I'm sorry, Steve. Yeah, I can only imagine if he's willing to do that and he's having fun. That's like seriously cool. So, I mean, I would say like awesome. Enjoy every minute of that you can. And definitely, you know, encourage him to explore. It's not about encouraging him to be a photographer or even to get serious about photography. Just encourage him to explore and to try things and to experiment. At 6 years old, don't worry about what's right or wrong. Just get him to play with things. That's really kind of the key. So, so let's see here. Francisco, Rotolite Neo, just another tool, different one. Yeah, and I agree. It is a tool. It's not the tool. It's not at the level that people are getting ooh about yet. But it's headed in the right direction. Absolutely, hands down. I think that they're on to a good thing. Robert Julian, are mirrorless cameras going to replace DSLRs in our lifetime? Hell yes, sooner the better. I talk about that a lot, Robert. If you go back through some previous TogChats and that, I do discuss that frequently. So I won't go into it all, in depth tonight. But I guarantee you that mirrorless cameras will replace DSLRs. And here's the important part: they should. With the technology that we have available, and Sony's proving it on a daily basis. Okay, but with the technology we have available, there's no reason to have a mirror. There's simply no reason to have a mirror anymore. It's just one more thing that can break. It's an unnecessary mechanism in the camera. So yes, mirrorless will definitely replace DSLRs. And plus, once you've used an EVF, you will not want to go back to a regular optical viewfinder, period. EVF's awesome. So, Vincent, how come some of my photos look dirty or grainy even at ISO 100? The eyes don't look sharp, but the exposure was properly done. Canon 80D. Vincent, my honest answer to you there is join my Facebook group, because the question that you're asking, and we'll probably get a couple people that will gladly weigh in on here. There's the link to my Facebook group in the chat window here. There literally could be about 60 answers to what you're asking, because there's a whole lot of variables. So I will gladly try and help you with that, Vincent. But what would be a lot better is if you join the Facebook group, make sure when you join the Facebook group, you watch the welcome video. Super important. Watch the welcome video, lurk for a few days, and then post one of your photos with all of the required information. It'll tell you about it in the welcome video. And we will definitely be able to help you solve the problem of what's causing your issue. But I would obviously need to see the image, and I need to know a little bit more about what you're shooting, how you're shooting it, and what some of the variables are. And that will allow me to help you out a little bit more. Steven Stiles, do you think that smartphones with detachable lenses will replace DSLRs? I don't think they'll. Actually, let me back up, Steven. I think they've already replaced DSLRs for a lot of people, right? But will they replace DSLRs like at a professional level? Nah, I don't know. I mean, is it possible that we'll get to the point where you'll be able to pick up an iPhone and it's going to have a 24 megapixel camera in it that does everything that the Sony A9 does? I guess in theory, that's possible. I think, is it realistic that we'll go that extreme? I don't think so. And in part because I don't think that the camera people are going to want to start putting phones in their cameras. And I don't think the phone people want their phones being thought of as professional cameras and not phones. So I think that there will always remain a certain dividing line there. But hey, anything's possible, right? Okay. Let's see. Francisco, DSLR will have its place for years to come. Mirrorless are great and getting better. I do shoot. I will not switch at all to mirrorless. Francisco, you have a lot of opinions, man. Yeah, DSLRs will have its place for limited years to come, man. And here's my point. Just so we're clear, I'm not speaking an opinion. I'm speaking based on statements from the CEOs of Canon, the CEOs of Nikon, the patents that they're applying for, the tech that they're releasing. Writing's on the wall, gang. It's simply called evolution. So it's going to change. It will change. It's a great thing that it changes. That's the part that's my opinion, that it's great that it's going to change. Is it going to happen tomorrow? No, it's not going to happen tomorrow. But the fact of the matter is it's already happening. We are in the middle of it. So, Francisco, I will say this. I'm not saying that you should change today. Absolutely not. But go back and watch the videos that I've done where I talk about evolution. And we all know what happened with evolution and the dinosaurs. Don't become the dinosaur. Don't be that person. Okay? Trevor Baldwin, your phone with a big goofy lens. Come on, Trevor. I could just see you putting a 500 millimeter on your phone. That would be like amazing. Okay? Yeah, Vincent, Canon, they'll do the right thing. They will. I'm not a Canon user, so I've got no skin in that game, right? But Canon will do the right thing. So will Nikon. They all will. Canon and Nikon, they're not going to go away. Sony's not going to put them out of business. In fact, if I was a Sony shooter, I'd be more worried about Sony staying on the right track because historically, Sony, there's a lot of reasons to worry that they won't, okay? But yeah, I mean, bottom line is Sony's doing all the right things. Canon and Nikon, they will. I've said before, I think it was last week, I talked about the fact that I see the D850, the Nikon D850, really as Nikon testing some of what they're going to do in their full-frame mirrorless camera. So I see the D850 as actually being very encouraging. Am I disappointed that it didn't have an EVF? Yes. Would I have loved for it to be a mirrorless camera? Of course. But I'm very encouraged by what I see in that camera and what's coming from it. Jim Boynton, you're right. SLRs took the place of rangefinders. They took the place of, the old twin lens format cameras, etc. Things will continue to evolve. And for me, and again, everybody's got different preferences, and that's cool. I love the evolution, not because I'm a GEARtographer, but because evolution generally, especially when it comes to technology, it makes things easier. It helps us speed things along. It simplifies challenges that we have. That's what I love about the evolution. Big time. Okay. So, Tosfist, I want to thank you for the grace. Hey, seriously, I really appreciate it. I'm glad you just discovered me. I'm glad that you are now a subscriber. Adam Asardis, humidity just as bad for vinyl backdrop as it is for paper. Only if it's on a paper core. And I would not recommend hanging your vinyl backdrop on a paper core. If you're going to buy a vinyl backdrop, purchase a metal core, which you can get from Manfrotto. So, and then unravel it, attach it to the metal core and put it on the metal core, and then, yeah, you'll never have a problem. So, all right, gang. So, last question here. I think this is a good one. This is one that people love to debate about. Orange, not black. Does it really matter to be a pro if you're a crop sensor or full frame? I have an extremely detailed, well thought out answer. You ready? No, doesn't matter. What matters is, are you shooting pro quality pictures? Period. Your client doesn't care if you're on full frame or crop sensor. Your client cares about the quality of the finished image. Now, are there clients that are going to come to you and say, hey, I need you to shoot this at 50 megapixels or higher? And those clients exist, but I don't think any of us are dealing with those clients, right? We're just not. So the client doesn't care how you get the shot as long as you got the shot and as long as it looks good. All right, gang, so listen, it's time. See that? I'm like in an hour and 20 minutes here almost, okay? So remember, behind the scenes pictures, hashtag share your lighting with PhotoFlex, Come on, I want to see more of my subscribers winning. Please make sure that you go and you check out this week's video all about the specular lights. I'm not kidding. These are cool lights, man. They really, really are. They're not for everybody. They're not for beginners, but they're really cool lights, okay? And please make sure that you go take pictures. Take all this stuff that we're thinking about, we're talking about, and go and try it, especially when it comes to the details. Work on the details, gang. So I hope to see you guys next week for TogChat. I know that I'll see some of you on Friday for our Zoom chat, and hopefully I'll see some more of you. And hey, one last time, guys, I'm going to ask you, please, if you haven't subscribed, do subscribe. And please let people know about what we're doing. That 100,000 mark, it actually does mean a lot to be able to continue to grow this channel and build it. So sharing what we're doing and talking about it with other people to bring other people on board would be greatly, greatly appreciated. So as always, gang, you know the drill. Until next time, please remember these words. Thanks for watching another live episode of TogChat. Now go pick up that camera and shoot something, because your best shot, it's your next shot. So keep learning, keep thinking, and keep shooting. Adios.